Yeah, and that was real wishful thinking. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. We are live on the Sports Porch Pittsburgh. Thank you for watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, all over the world. We are live on social media. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, you're probably listening to the Sports Porch on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And not to be left out, the World Wide Web. You can always grab yourself a little sports.
We're worldwide.
At theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com.
That's exactly right. And we are so happy you're here. We will drop the podcast right after the show so you can listen to it on your way down to Sheetz to get an MTO.
Oh, yeah.
Does everybody know what an MTO is, right, Schwaber? You know what an MTO is?
Refresh my memory.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
That's no.
That's
it's also known as a made to order.
Yeah, Sheetz made to order.
You know that screen that you like to touch.
So there's now a what do you call it when you is that called an acronym when you have like the letters represent something?
Yes,
yes.
Is that what that's called?
Good,
okay,
Mark.
so we now have an acronym for takeout.
Yeah, no.
I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
It's
not takeout.
It's been around forever. The MTO has been around forever.
You know, I still don't have a Sheetz card.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
I'll give you.
I don't have a Sheetz card.
Max just got one, so I'm just gonna bum his.
Yeah, well, you don't have a Sheetz card, Schwaber, but you sent us those texts saying go down to Sheetz and get gas for $17.77 or whatever.
Yeah, and I did. I took advantage of it.
Figures. That's why you're so fortunate because you save on gas every July 4th.
Hey, did you see there was a some guy in concert? He was wearing like a Wawa shirt or something like that.
No, but I like it. I love it though. Yeah,
Wawa.
It seemed like one of your type of guys, Mark. You know, not a rapper, but kind of like a wannabe rapper.
Well, DG is in the house, and he says, "Let's get this show on the road."
DG.
That would be that. Yeah, you guys can't hear that on air. That's my.
We got a doorbell noise.
Yeah, my front doorbell just rang. I'm hoping somebody's here. It's
it food?
never
if it's food, it's got to be food.
I don't know,
Mark.
No.
Mark, he finally got food delivered, and you're not in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
it's the Amazon truck. It's the Amazon truck.
Just Amazon.
Yeah, I just hope that there isn't a home invasion while you're down in the basement.
No, Sassy would protect us.
Oh yeah, Sassy would be all over there.
I don't think so.
Here's the comment that Mark doesn't want to see.
No, but this is a great
Mark
one.
doesn't eat Sheetz food because his wonderful wife cooks him great dinners.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never come home with an MTO from Sheetz, have I?
Well,
neither do I. It always gets eaten in the car.
Really?
Oh yeah, I never make it home.
I don't want to jinx us, and I hope somebody from Sheetz is listening and they find this a valuable medium with which to spend their money to kind of get the MTO message out there. Of course, everybody knows what an MTO is. I've never had an MTO at Sheetz. I used to go there when I landscaped, and I would get a gallon of chocolate milk and drink the whole thing. And
that's weird.
Wow, it is weird. It is weird. And I would go there. I went there once with my daughter. We went to a late night ghost hunt in Gettysburg, and she was really hungry. And it was like 1 a.m, and we stopped at Sheetz.
Wait, in Gettysburg, you could go to a Wawa or a Sheetz.
Well, there was a Sheetz near my mother's house on the way home. Anyway, let me just tell you, I will never buy that food again. You're not buying food. This was cooked food.
So I guess we're not going to be the Jared of Sheetz.
Actually, it's very simple. Your go-to when you get an MTO from Sheetz is you get the BLT. It's impossible to mess up.
Okay.
And you always get the tots.
How does
and that's the thing. You got to tip your cap to Sheetz for just employing tots as an option.
Yeah. I mean, when you have tots, it doesn't really matter if you get a BLT. How do you know
about the MTO and the BLT? Are you just thinking like everybody's going to offer a BLT?
No, I've gotten it plenty of times from Sheetz. I actually won't get it from Giant Eagle Get-Go's, but I do get it from Sheetz because I think their food's a little better.
So then you've always gotten the MTO from Sheetz.
I would say
MTO.
each year I'm going to say per year I maybe hit the MTO 7 times from Sheetz.
Wow.
That's significant.
I
would say that's
all.
significant.
I don't at all. I'd rather eat Arby's.
Ugh.
Seriously.
Oh, that's
Well,
disgusting.
and of course you
Burger King,
back around
that
for 45
slop,
minutes to find an
sludge in a
Arby's.
bun.
You rule. You rule. All right, let's move on. This show is supposed to be about sports.
Is
This
it?
is what happens in the dead zone.
That
We
is
just
true.
go off on tangents. Just enjoy it.
Yeah,
just enjoy
Come
it.
along for
The
the ride.
dead
This is better than a
zone.
roller coaster at Kennywood in the rain. All right. Listen, guys, the Pirates, okay? I want to thank everybody who listens to the Pirates report, the Buccos report, after every Buccos game. It really is a joy to do, mostly because I enjoy
You talk bad about the Pirates, I'm not giving you any stars.
I don't really care. I don't want any of your stars.
No, Chris, you could talk good. You be good cop, I'll be bad cop.
Okay. Well, I can't, man. I don't want to be good cop. I want to be.
It's so hard to be good cop these days.
It is hard. It is hard. So we want to hear how you think. We want to hear what you think. You can give us a call at that number on the bottom of the screen, 412-805-7236. We have lines open, so feel free to call into the show. And
it's a great time to get in right now.
It is. It really is. And so
or just, do it the old-fashioned way. Send us a chat.
Yeah, that's true. You can do that. So here's the thing about the Pirates that I'm really... It's
just get it out.
It's frustrating. I'm totally frustrated. I'm completely frustrated because
with
I don't
lack
see
of winning.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Lack of wins. Yeah.
Yeah, 41 and 52. Right now, there's a rain delay. The Guardians are in town tonight. Quinn Priester is pitching. They just brought him up. Quinn Priester. He's got a blazing like 4.31 ERA in AAA for the Indianapolis Indians.
I heard he can't throw a fastball, but he's got a lot of junk.
I have no idea.
No, seriously, that's what I heard.
I heard that about Schwaber too. But so and Andy Rodriguez is catching. Okay,
David's on to something here.
I want to know what you guys think about this.
I think DG's thinking like a sports.
There he is, right? Priester. DG says Priester to start, and holy crap, Rodriguez to catch. Henry hasn't even caught yet. What in the hell are they doing? What are they doing? I feel like I'm watching a schizophrenic baseball team. Okay, I get it. There is no chance, and let's just be realistic, and I'll be realistic. There was no chance this year that the Pirates were going to make the playoffs. There was no chance.
There was in the first month.
I don't think there was ever a chance. Okay, because we saw
fool's gold.
There was a hope. How about that?
Right. There was a hope after
it turned out to be fool's gold.
Right, fool's gold, Schwaber. So, but what I can't figure out is when you're bringing up all of these players. Let me see if I can.
What the hell's going on out there?
That's
what you're saying.
I'm gonna bottom line it. Right.
Bottom line it.
They've given up on the season already. Season already.
Yeah, but I think that's a good thing for the Pirates, and let me tell you why. Because to your point, they never were that good to begin with. So ultimately, you just want to see all their prospects come up and play together, because the only chance they have at being a contender for a wild card, and maybe it's division, because the division is really horrible.
Right.
And it's schizophrenic too. I mean, look at the Reds. They were zooming, and now they just got swept by Milwaukee. Yeah. And now Milwaukee's back on top.
Right.
And it's looking like, the Reds kind of, I don't know, like they imploded, like they had some kind of record of futility over the weekend, which was ridiculous for this team. So that being said, I think by bringing up, and I get the Henry Davis thing. I mean, I get that I don't get it, because he should have been the starting catcher, but they have two catchers. So they're in a predicament where they have to play somebody. I wish they would have, when they brought up Henry Davis, they just would have put him in for catcher. Then that way, if he didn't perform well at the catcher position, they still have Indy Rodriguez who could come in and then catch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they would have brought, and I think they should bring up their prospects, and these two guys are clearly the top of their prospects. And this Priester, I say let them play together the rest of the year and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Because I think that's the best thing they can hope for. I mean, they can't get any worse. I mean, for God's sakes, they were what, 20 and 9?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 20 and 9. And they've only had 21 wins since then. Like they had as many wins in the first month of the season
43
as they
losses.
Have since.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're 22 and 43 cents, which was what they were basically the year before all year.
So clearly that's a fluke. And the other thing that's going to start happening is all these older players that we don't like, that we don't even want to even name, they're all going to be gone off the roster in the next 3 weeks.
I want to get some good comments in here from we have a viewer on LinkedIn, Steven. I do appreciate this. He's got 2 good comments that I've actually had questions on. First of all, he witnessed what he thought was one of the dumbest managerial decisions ever in the bottom of the 7th yesterday. You're right. Guys on first and third, with the infield in, Davis did not steal second base, and Marcano, that's who he's talking about. Marcano was bunting. Right. But now these are young players at the major league levels. I give him kind of a pass on that. Maybe he missed a sign. Who knows? But right. I'm going to talk about Davis here in a second, though, and what's going on. But what Steven does say, and Steven again is watching on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being here. Most scouts think Davis cannot catch at the major league level. Okay. So if that's the case, I get it. I mean,
he can't play right field either.
Well, he only played
He's not good out there.
13 games in right field as in the minor league. So he's got speed. He's got an arm. Now what he has to learn to do, and I mentioned this on the Buccos report last night. Now what he's got to learn to do is he's got to learn to glove the ball differently, because when all you do is catch, you use a catcher's mitt. I mean, this sounds really rudimentary, but you kind of got to give him a pass from the standpoint of, he's trying to field balls and come up and throw them with a different glove. They come at you at a different speed, a different angle. It's a whole new position. Okay, fine. But you've got, what I see them starting Hedges, pinch hitting for Hedges near the later in the game by putting in Delay, and Davis is in right field. Okay, why do you have that big hole at number 9? And in the other game, in the last game where they did that, everybody says, well, Hedges is a good defensive catcher, and he steals the most strikes in the National League. And so what? He can't hit the ball. And the last game they just played against the Giants, the game before, because Delay played the whole game yesterday. The game he played against the Giants, they ran all over him, and the Giants are like second to last in the National League in stolen bases. They stole like 2 or 3 bases. Delay came in and he threw a guy out.
Yeah.
You know, so fine. If Davis is not touted to be a good major league catcher, he's definitely going to be a good major league player. Maybe not a superstar, you never know, but I think he can be solid, and he definitely plays to win. He plays all the way to the end of the game. That's good. But now you bring up Endy Rodriguez and you put him in catching right away. Why didn't you bring Rodriguez up first?
Right.
What is up with Hedges? What kind of contract does he have? I mean, and I'm not a contract expert, but I know some contracts say you can't send me down, you can't option me. Maybe that's what it is, but that's fine. It doesn't mean you get to play every game. You know,
no,
so
he's just a coach's favorite, is
maybe,
what
right.
it is.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, the one thing, first off,
have a hole of first base.
I don't disagree with you, Steven. Yeah.
Actually,
by the way, Steven spells his name perfectly. I might add.
Yeah. By the way, Steven does have a point up that I was just going to bring up myself, which is, you know, typically when people can't play a position, you try to put them at first base.
Right.
Because that's supposedly the easiest position to play. And if you think about it, if you're a catcher and you're used to, you know, catching balls in the dirt all the time with a bigger mitt, that's what first base is.
I agree.
You know, so what, you know, why is he not playing first base?
Well,
I mean,
I think the reason.
Sense.
I think the reason he's not playing first base is because Carlos Santana,
Right.
Well, he's going to be traded soon.
probably.
Right. But that's the thing. I mean, Carlos Santana.
He's been playing a now your Pirates announcers are talking about how it's Gold Glove level first base.
Good. Let him play him for the Yankees or somebody else.
But I mean, I've watched just about every game Santana's played first. He has made some great plays. He is a solid first baseman, and his glove
be easy
is
to
pretty
trade
good.
Then.
Exactly, but it's not Gold Glove, but it's damn good. So I think that's why, and also they're showcasing him. That's what they're doing.
Yep.
He's easy to trade.
I agree.
They're showcasing him. So maybe, you know what, Steven, maybe you're right. Maybe that's where he ends up moving. But now basically you do have 4 catchers.
But here's the other thing too. So
they send Delay or Hedges?
They probably have another prospect that's a catcher.
So
I don't
right. How old is Henry Davis? 21?
Davis. I don't know, but we could
always. Why all of a sudden are we giving up on him being a catcher? I mean,
I understand that most scouts think he can't catch. I just say give him a chance. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Just give him a chance.
How do you know? How do you know? I mean, players do, and especially in baseball, players really do develop over time. Players are much better. Their third year than their second and their first and their rookie year. I mean, the guy's been a catcher all his life. He was calling games in the minor leagues.
Well, they say scouts know best. Hey, look who's right beside me. It's the property diva.
Now we have a real baseball expert with us. Of course,
we sure do.
Our biggest sponsor, the Pittsburgh Property Diva, is here. And are you going to try to get into Steve's camera there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. I
wanted to make sure my mic was on.
It is. And I think we can probably this is a live show, guys.
Oh yeah.
And there we go.
So tell us your thoughts on Carlos Santana, not the singer.
You know what? That's dumb.
She's a black magic woman.
Yeah, come on, honey. You know how to talk into the microphone. The Property Diva had her own radio show, so this is like riding a bike for her.
I don't know how to talk into the microphone.
There you go.
But I don't know who Carlos Santana is. I'm really sorry.
Well, you know the guitar player.
I do.
Right.
I definitely do.
So what's your favorite Carlos Santana song?
I would have to say Black Magic.
Yeah, it is. It's everybody's.
Is it about
you, Mark?
Leave the lights on.
Your day job.
Oh man, Spank.
Oh boy.
Okay, let's
laying it down on me.
A couple comments. Is that volume too high for you or too low? Or are you good?
No, it's good, but I just wanted to pop on and interrupt you.
Oh, you did? Is that what you wanted to do?
You on purpose.
You're doing a very good job of interrupting.
I'm so happy you did.
Brad's in the house. Hey, Brad.
Brad Trombley. Hey, Brad. What's up? Steven says, thanks, guys. Great work. Thank you so much. He also says, remember, Neil Walker was drafted as a catcher. 18 pass balls later, he was in.
All I have to say about Henry Davis is just put him in the lineup. Just keep him going in one position. If that's what it is, if they're waiting for Carlos Santana to, pass his music career on to somebody else, put him in first place.
Yeah.
Be done with it.
That's what we said. They're showcasing him. Well, Property Diva, is there any real estate advice you'd like to give us before you head upstairs to?
Just like to give everybody a heads up that there's no inventory.
Yeah. I think they're finding that out.
There's no inventory?
Been out all day.
Is it a good time to buy a home?
out there?
It's a seller's market.
Ooh, so now's a good time.
So you could make some.
You hear that, Susan? If you're out there in cyberspace listening,
it's a seller's market.
Time to sell the house.
Time to sell the house, Susan.
I mean, Kiefer's moved in next door, so might be time to move the house.
His house is big enough for all of you.
Well, and there's no air conditioning.
I'll tell you that.
How about you, Mark? Mark, can I move in with you if I sell my house?
Well, you can stay with us for a couple of days if you have an air conditioning issue like Kiefer.
Yes. Excellent point.
Does Kiefer have an air conditioning issue?
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
He doesn't have central air. He's got those units.
Oh, yeah, but they work. All right. Let's not go down that road.
Oh, boy.
Okay, where
Yep.
can we
Radon
where
test
can we
failed.
find you, Property Diva?
You know,
If we're selling our house, where can we get a hold of you?
propertydiva.com. You can call me on the phone. You can text me.
Pitts,
I'll answer.
PittsburghPropertyDiva.com.
Can
Yes.
we Instagram you?
Bella and me
Sure.
are feeling left out.
Oh, here
no,
comes. It's
no,
a family
no,
show
It's a
tonight.
family affair
It's a
tonight.
Family show tonight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, DG
Really
DG
are.
says he's seen some of your recent listings and they look
How's
really
Amy
nice.
cannot
There you
move in
I
with us?
appreciate
All
that.
right. Oh, Amy said you cannot move in with us, Steve. That wasn't very nice.
I don't blame her.
This podcast is
You
going to
wouldn't want to
shit.
turn it into a frat house again.
This whole thing is going to shit right now.
I
We're
bet
talking-
you'd let Susan move in.
This is like friends and family hour.
It is really. It is really. Oh, and Brad Trombley says makes me want to move to Pittsburgh after seeing those listings.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey, Brad, you're going to be in for the game. You know, check out some houses.
He's in Minnesota, right?
Mhm.
Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Minnesota. Shane, where is Shane? Shane from Utah said he was going to be here. So
Well,
Over and out.
over and out. Thank you, darling,
Bye.
for being here.
Bye, Diva.
Bye.
I like her beside me better than you, Mark. I think you should stay there.
Yeah, I agree. I like her across the
If
table
that's,
from me too.
if that's the way it's got to be, that's the way it's got to be.
She is actually
I get it.
much better looking than you are, Mark.
Oh, faux show.
Yeah.
Like as a woman, I would say as a man, I'm better looking.
Thanks, honey. Thank you.
Well, maybe if you dressed up like a woman, you'd look better looking.
Yeah, and apparently that's acceptable
It is
nowadays.
trendy.
I
Yeah.
think you sound sick. the head.
Nobody ever denied that.
Yeah, sick in the head.
You better stop talking, or there could be a Netflix documentary coming up.
Possibly. Okay, let's get back to the Pirates here. So still in a rain delay. So we're not going to have any updates right now, but I continue to be confused about what the plan is. It seems to me, actually, if you're going to pull a plan out of this year from the Pirates, it was, let's see how things go, and if the shit hits the fan, we'll bring up our entire Indianapolis team and see how they do. Because I don't see anything. And I said this last night on the Buccos Report as well. Is there anybody in this lineup who anybody is afraid of? And the answer is no. There's just not. You've got the young players that are rookies and they're aggressive at the plate, but there's no track record. Nobody's afraid of them. Nobody is afraid of Andrew McCutcheon anymore. And 10 years ago, he was a great player. Now, he's at the tail end of his career. He's going to give you solid at bats. He's going to have that veteran presence. He's going to make very few mistakes. That's good, but he's not the guy in the lineup that anybody's going to worry about.
Yeah.
And Brian Reynolds I'm starting to believe he's a little above average Major League Baseball player, little above average. He plays a decent left field and he's got a decent bat. With runners in scoring position, he's okay. We just don't get a lot of them. And that they brought McCutcheon in for press. They signed Reynolds to avoid a mutiny.
True.
And then when you got a guy like Sawinski batting first, what in the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
make
wrong
any
spot.
sense.
He's a power hitter. You got to put him in the 3, 4, 5 spot somewhere down there.
Just look,
Probably the 5 spot's right for him.
I've watched him sitting in the 5 spot and do really, really well. Steve, now it's 2 Penguins games, a Steelers game in between, so you can catch up.
Hey, Brad, one of those ascends game, right?
And DG says the show takes a big dip when Lauren and Amy leave.
Yeah, and the dog Bella. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, Bella.
Little above average, which much bigger than average contract for Brian Reynolds. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that his contract is much bigger than average, but it's bigger.
Yeah.
But
in today's salary, it's an average.
yeah,
And it's probably a really good contract for him the way he's been playing this year.
yeah.
Hopefully it pans out a little bit more next year when they actually need him. That's right, the Ducks. Got it, Brad.
I'm just but when I look at it going forward, I'm very there's a lot of people in the media that are optimistic, and here's what they're optimistic about. Okay, you've got all the young players we brought up, Triolo, Gonzalez, now Rodriguez.
You like Triolo, right?
I love Triolo,
Yeah.
actually. I really do. And
Can he play first base?
No, he's a third baseman.
Yeah.
He's a third baseman all the way. He won the Gold Glove in the minor leagues for third base. And in the minor leagues, it's all leagues.
Yeah.
Single A all the way.
Coming back to me now.
And I watched him make some incredible Brooks Robinson like plays at third base. Now he's made a couple mistakes because he's a rookie.
That's a little hyperbole.
But I'm telling you, his range is incredible, and he's got a great arm, and he's got a good head, and he also has a pretty aggressive bat. He's like 6 or 7 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And
I will have the Triolio Aglio Olio and a Caesar salad, please.
There you go. It's the new Roethlisberger. So there was a story that came out in the last couple of days. A couple different media outlets have covered it, where they have said that both Ke'Bryan Hayes and his father, Charlie Hayes, are not really happy with his situation in Pittsburgh, and that he might not want to be here. Now, who knows how much of that is conjecture and somebody taking some, but I have a feeling.
Who really wants to be in Pittsburgh right now?
I mean, yeah, I get it, but I have a feeling that Ke'Bryan Hayes is on his way out for 2 reasons. One, he seems to have this recurring back injury, and they just can't get him back on the field.
Good point.
How much of that is positioning as well? For like they did bring up this guy, Jared Triolo, who he is a major league third baseman, and when I say that, what I mean is, he can be an everyday major league third baseman. He can hit the ball. He can field the ball. That's it. You know, Tom Hanks. Baseball is running is what? Throwing the ball, catching the ball, hitting the ball. He can do that. Hayes, to me, I didn't see anything out of that guy that made him jump out at me this year. I mean, yeah, he had a couple pretty good plays at third base.
That everybody was talking
incredible,
about.
But he's such a streaky hitter. So I just don't know what the plan is going forward, other than we hope that, like Ronzi Contreras, who they sent down, he's only 23. In the beginning of the year, he had some stuff that was lightning, and then he lost it. You know, he just couldn't get back on track as a pitcher.
Well, with the new rotation is going to be coming into play with Priester, and then, eventually Schemes.
Yeah.
Right. And you still got your ace. He could be a target for that middle relief. They need a good middle relief guy.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, at the All-Star break or at the trade deadline, we're going to be sellers. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get rid of some guys.
So who are they going to sell? Bednar, Keller?
They might keep Bednar.
I don't see them keeping Bednar.
I mean, why not? You got him signed for 3 years. I mean, the 3-year window is where I see this team right now.
Who do you but who are you going to get your greatest return for? Bednar or Keller?
Why do you need return? You don't need return anymore. This team doesn't need any more return.
But that's how they're going to justify it.
I know, but that's what's bullshit about the Pirates organization. They always think about what kind of return can we get for this guy. Well, how about the return you'll get for him in the next 2 years when you actually are contending and you have a guy who can save games and could potentially get 40 or 50 saves if everything strikes gold with your pitching, with your starting pitching. You potentially have 3 really good starting pitchers.
Right.
Keep him. Just freaking keep him.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I get the return on investment for Kutch. Kutch is not going to be the guy who's going to be here when this team is actually going to be good. They might be okay next year, but that's about it for Kutch.
So you would trade Kutch?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. You know what? Only because they absolutely have no chance at it. And unless he is really good in the locker room with these kids,
which I'm sure he is.
Maybe he is. That would be the only reason I keep him. And I have no way to know that.
Right.
Nobody really does. But you don't keep him because Kutch wants to stay. You keep him because you think about your prospects at this point and making your prospects the best coming into the next season, so they don't leave this season with like a bad taste in their mouth. They leave this season with like, man, we got a lot of really good talent. We're going to get some great pitching next year. We can get the hitting together. And then, you see what next year is about, and you got a full season to figure it out.
I want to hear what Schwaber, the non-Pirates fan, he's a fan of the Phillies. He follows the Pirates because he lives in Pittsburgh. Schwaber, screw all the stuff we've just been talking about, because that's all in the weeds. As an outsider looking at the Pirates right now, knowing that they are definitely going to be sellers at the trade deadline, I'd be shocked if they weren't. Who would you trade? Who do you think they're going to trade, or who would you trade?
Well, if I'm an opposing team, I would want Keller, Bednar, and maybe McCutcheon if I need another outfielder with pop.
What about Santana?
No interest. I mean, look, Santana played for the Phillies a couple years back. I don't know, maybe 5 years back at this point. Kind of like at a point where the Phillies were where the Pirates are now. And he did the same thing. He hit 240. He ended up hitting maybe 18 home runs. He walked a lot and he played average in the field. I never thought he was anything special in the field. I just think he's a below average ball player, maybe a little closer to average, but below average. I think he sucks. I'll just be honest with you.
Are those your three guys? Keller, Bednar, and who was the other guy? Kutch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one else that, I think would really do much for you. I mean, and I think that's kind of like a sad state of affairs.
I agree.
Yeah, they don't go out and get anybody, and all their prospects right now are too young to give up on.
Right?
They don't have a prospect the last 2 years who's been promising, and they only have for another year or two. And they know they're not going to sign them. Now would be the time to get rid of that person. They just don't have that person on the roster right now.
So there is one wild card in this, and that wild card, of course, is O'Neal Cruz, who is
actually. Let me back up on that for a second.
Okay.
I would also say Brian Reynolds. But I would imagine after they locked him up to a $100 million deal, that's the idea behind that was showing Pittsburgh we're going to keep one of our own. So I'd be really surprised if they would,
Yeah. Now, see, that's the kind of guy I think they would dump because they signed him to a pretty big contract.
Yeah.
They got somebody else who can fill, who may be even better than him, at least as good as him, and is half the price. So that would be the kind of guy the classic Pittsburgh organization would sell off. And in this case, I might agree.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that would be, I don't think that the idea that Brian Reynolds would be traded is on anybody's radar at all. And we have seen them make moves in the past that we did not think were on the radar.
Yeah.
But see here now here's the thing, honestly, that if you really think about it, it's kind of crazy. But part of the reason why, a lot of fans are disappointed with Brian Reynolds right now is because his contract says he's the best player on this team.
Yeah, right.
But if he goes to a serious playoff contender, like the Phillies or the Giants or the Diamondbacks or even the ones who are definitely going to make it, like the Braves and Houston, he might be the 7th best player in their lineup. So he's got no pressure. He's batting either 7, 8, or 9 probably. And, if he gives you, 20 home runs and hits 275 and gets you 80 RBIs and plays a decent defense, as your 7th or 8th best position player, then you feel like you've hit a gold mine.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. The other thing that I brought up last night, as far as the pitching goes, is all of the talk about Mitch Keller being a Cy Young candidate in the beginning of the year. And I've reevaluated this thing. First of all, he's no longer a Cy Young candidate as far as I'm concerned. But he's not that great. He's just not. He's not a number one starter on another team that has a good pitching staff. He could be a solid number 2 on a team that has a good pitch, like the Braves, that has a good pitching staff. He might actually even be a number 3. Now, I know that's pushing it, but I don't think Mitch Keller at this point, he's definitely better than he was last year. And his first couple years, he has made some serious progress. But I don't think that he is that number 1 ace that everybody thinks he's going to be. And I think that with drafting Paul Skeens, which, oh my God, if you're in Pittsburgh, this guy is the second coming of Cy Young. leaves them open to make that move because his value right now is higher than it's ever been in his career. And yes, we need pitching, but again, there's that 2-3 year window, and he's eligible for arbitration after next year, and he's going to get paid. So they're in a bind right now where they have to try to figure out whether or not they want to offer him an extension right now or let him go to arbitration. And I think the Pirates lose no matter what, because they don't want to pay Mitch. If they have to offer him a contract right now and he continues to pitch just the way he's pitching right now, he's going to say no to anything they have to offer, because on the open market, he's going to get a hell of a lot more money if he can keep this pace up. So why not trade him right now when his value is probably highest to you as an organization? Like the Yankees wouldn't trade him right now. Do you know what I mean? Like other teams wouldn't trade him right now, but the Pirates, they could trade him. They really could.
Yeah, they might, because they don't really have him locked up. That's absolutely true. And that would make some sense, unless you think you need 3 starters in this league, because they're not going to have it. And who even knows if this Quinn Priester is going to be any good? So yeah, I think what they'll do is they brought Quinn Priester up to see what he's got, and if he's good enough, they might let him go. Yeah, they might trade Keller. I think they're going to get their highest return. How much is he going to make in arbitration? Like, is he going to get a $10 million salary?
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Well, you know what?
I mean, I don't think it'll be so ridiculous. You're like, there's no way you would keep him for that money.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it to you like this. Zach Eflin, who pitched for the Phillies last year, and he was their 4th/5th starter. And he just had an average year last year, but he's always had good stuff. It's just sort of, hasn't really materialized with injuries and stuff like that. Tampa Bay paid him $15 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess his ERA was in the 4s last year.
Right. So are the Pirates going to pay a guy $15 million a year to be a pitcher? I don't know.
No, the question is that what he'll get in arbitration?
Well,
because he can go to arbitration the next 2 years and they can keep him.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I'm saying is, do they want to pay that amount a year for a pitcher? I mean, they had a lot of trouble forking over 10 million plus for Brian Reynolds, who's an above average player. And Mitch Keller has shown nothing other than at the end of last year and the first part of this year, that he's a great pitcher other than this small sample size.
My philosophy with the Pirates are, if it costs them money, they're not going to pay it.
That's what I'm saying. But I think he's gone.
If they want to be a playoff contender, probably not next year, but the year after, they're going to have to keep guys like this who are going to be in the organization for 1 or 2 years. And when they get to that 3rd year, and maybe he'll end up making 20 million that year. You know what? If he's a good starting pitcher, that's worth it. It's absolutely worth it to keep him. But this is my problem with the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. They never do the right thing. They never are patient with these guys. They let them go. And you know what? They do get rich elsewhere, to Mark's point. And he will get rich elsewhere. I would just, for once, like to see the organization change the way they do business when it comes to situations like this. And that's why I'm watching.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the bottom line is that if they are going to get good in the next 3 years, they need Mitch Keller to be one of the top 3 starters.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. That's
so
why
it would be foolish to let him go. But I will also agree with their mindset is probably more towards yours than, me and Steve, in that they're probably saying, you know what, he's kind of at his peak of, most desired right now. We should get all we can for him.
Yeah. And that's the history. I think he's gone. I'll make that prediction. I know that Buccos Nation is going to hate me for that, but my prediction is that unless the Pirates turn around and win like 7 straight, you can kiss Mitch Keller goodbye.
Well, and this is why the Pirates end up being so awful, terrible for so long, because maybe Quinn Priester has a good outing tonight. And then maybe the next time he's out, he has another good outing, and they're like, oh, we can afford to let Mitch Keller go. And then Quinn Priester now becomes your number one pitcher, and he's garbage.
Yeah. And,
you know,
and that's happened. That's happened quite a few times. And as of right now, they did start playing baseball at PNC Park. It's the middle of the second inning. It's 0-0
rainy out there.
Yeah. Quinn Priester has pitched 2 innings. He's throwing a no-hitter after 2 innings, but he hasn't struck.
Woo!
No, they said he's going to have trouble throwing, striking people out because he doesn't have a fastball.
Yeah.
So he's not really fooling anybody because he's throwing junk all the time.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of waiting for whether it's a slider, a curveball.
Why do we talk so highly about a guy that doesn't have a fastball?
I know.
He's working on it. He says it's getting better.
Here's the
it actually kind of does.
Steamer.
You know what? Just as sort of an aside, it does actually. Like, I can't understand why, like, to me, the hardest thing to do in baseball is to hit, a 99 mile per hour fastball.
Which is why they got schemes.
Right. But I don't understand. Like, these junk ballers come up there, and I don't care if it's a slider or a curveball. I'm sorry, you're throwing it like 80 miles an hour, man. Like, they should be able to destroy those baseballs.
Yeah, unless you have a heater that you can bring, right? And then it throws you off balance. That was always the thing. Chris, you played pony ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know those guys that could really throw a wicked curveball, they were the hardest one to hit because it might be like the first couple times you've ever seen a curveball in your life. Because
at that age,
a
real curveball.
A real curveball.
You saw a lot of attempts at curveballs.
Right. But so like when somebody has a good one, that's all they want to ever throw.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I tried to throw one when I pitched. I tried to throw one, and I just that's why I didn't pitch. So
are we in agreement that 40 minutes is too much on the Pirates?
Yes.
It always is. But you know what? We get in this rabbit hole because we want the Pirates to be better.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want the organization to do the right thing, and we always know what's going to happen.
By the way, you guys might find this kind of funny though. Speaking about our Little League days, when I played Little League, I was a pitcher. And what kind of made me different that a lot of people couldn't hit what I had was I was doing the Dan Quisenberry sidewinder.
Oh yeah,
Colby.
I would pay good money to see a video.
I was actually pretty darn good at it for a little bit.
The Giants have a pair of twins. They have twins on their roster that are pitchers, which I think is super corny. Taylor and Tyler Rogers. God. And one of them is a Submariner. And they showed he literally, when he throws the ball, his knuckles are 2 inches off the ground.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to say about baseball in general. Out here in Pittsburgh, the media is there. Of course, everybody's on the where's Ohtani going to go? Where's Ohtani going to go?
Right.
Okay.
Not here.
Not Pittsburgh.
Why is this even a debate? Why? What? You know where Ohtani's going. You know where he's going. He's going to the New York Yankees.
I don't know. I think Boston's going to make a run.
Not necessarily. Boston will try. Atlanta will try.
No.
The Rangers will try.
No. Yes, everybody will try. I will try to have him over for dinner. Okay. He is going to the New York Yankees. Why? Because he's a player from Japan. He's the best player ever out of that country. He's an absolute phenom. He's going to get the most money for a contract in the history of baseball, and probably the most for a long time because nobody can do what he does. And you know who pays for that? The Yankees. They're going to have an escalation clause. They're going to tell him, whatever you want, whatever you get offered, we will double it, because New York, that's where I hate the Yankees, but that's where he belongs. And he's from Japan, and the New York Yankees are huge over there. So I don't know why these morons in the media are speculating. Hey, look, if he ends up in Boston, I got egg on my face. I get it. But
Mariners closest flight home.
Mariners close. Yeah. He's got a close flight now in LA. It's not that different.
San Francisco's pretty
or San Fran, right? I mean, I don't know why it's even a friggin' debate. He's signing with the Yankees.
Not necessarily. You'd be surprised.
When Mike Mussina ended up being a free agent, who signed him? the Yankees. Okay. He was a lifetime Baltimore Oriole, grew up in central Pennsylvania, always proclaimed he would play for the Orioles. And as soon as they showed him the money, he signed with the Yankees. What did Mark Teixeira do? Same thing. He was from the Baltimore, Washington era. All of a sudden, he's a great big player on the Rangers. What did he do? He signed with the Yankees. What did Alex Rodriguez do after he dicked around in Seattle and then dicked around in Texas? The Yankees gave him the farm. He signed with the Yankees. What did Roger Clemens do? He signed with the Yankees. Do I have to go on?
Well, you haven't really named anybody recent though.
That's because I haven't.
That's because they have Aaron Judge.
Well, right. No, listen.
Aaron Judge is homegrown.
Mark my words.
Which is surprising for the Yankees.
Okay, Hockey Jesus, you got 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes. Hockey Jesus preaches on the podcast after every Penguins game during the regular season, and he bestows upon us his wisdom when it's not the regular season. And if you have something you want to say about hockey, you can call us at 412-805-7236 and join the program if you're watching live right now. Go ahead.
So, Steve, I think the question everybody wants to know is, will Erik Karlsson be wearing the black and gold?
I think the answer to that question is undoubtedly yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's why I think so. It really is coming down to Carolina and Pittsburgh. I mean, everybody's saying that. Everybody who's anybody is saying that. And a lot of people are saying that Karlsson doesn't want to play second fiddle to Brett Burns again. And that makes a lot of sense to me because Karlsson's got a big ego. He liked being out in San Jose all by himself. But what he doesn't like about San Jose is there's no chance for winning out there. So I think he'd probably have a better chance of winning the cup with Carolina. But I think his ego's big enough that he realizes if he comes to Pittsburgh, and if you look at the style of play of the offenses, Carolina, he's not going to have the ability to just release into the offensive zone whenever he wants. In Pittsburgh, he can do it every freaking play if he wants to. And I think he loves that style of play. I think it fits what he wants to do on the ice perfectly. The only thing I think for Pittsburgh is, and I think this is a good thing that it's taking so long, is they know they're in the catbird seat. So I think they probably took probably a number one pick off the board and probably took Pettersson off the board and said, look, if you want to dump his salary and you want to get something in return, we're going to give you Petrie. Probably going to give him somebody younger, like maybe an O'Connor or maybe even somebody from their farm system. I hope they don't give him Owen Pickering. He's their draft pick from 2 years ago. But if they had to, I wouldn't say it's terrible and probably a number one. But I think they're looking to try and get 2 number ones, and Pittsburgh's like, no, we're not giving you that second number one. And they don't have anybody else who's gonna be able to offer that. So I think in the end, Pittsburgh gets him, and I think it's going to be probably more than a lot of people want to spend. But I think they have to get him if they want to be considered playoff contenders.
Okay, so Steve, I've got an Erik Karlsson question for you, because I knew we were having this banter tonight, and let's just be honest, Steve. Karlsson's a pretty common hockey name. There's a few Karlssons out there, so I'm like, which Karlsson is this guy? Okay, so I looked him up. Okay, the first thing that stands out at you is, like, wow, did he have an unreal season last year? He had 25 goals, 76 assists, and 101 points.
I know where you're going with this. I already know where you're going with this.
And then I was just like, wait a minute. You have to go all the way back to 2017, 2016, since he had 71, 82, 66, 74.
Yeah.
There's this time between 2018 and 2022 where now injuries were a part of it because he only played a little over 50 games each year. But still, we're talking some low point totals, like, in 52 games in 2021, 22 points. In 2022, 50 games, 35 points. In 2020, 56 games, 40 points. Not terrible, but, like, for example, 2018.
That was before he, when did he go to San Jose?
That was actually right when he did go to San Jose. He
Right.
went to San Jose in 2018, 2019.
What was the decrease in points from his last year in Ottawa? Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Versus
62 last year in Ottawa to 45.
Right. So I think that's exactly why he's going to go to Pittsburgh, because San Jose, they just didn't play the same game that Ottawa played. And remember, this is the Ottawa Senators without a lot of talent. They had no talent left.
Without Alfredson and
right. Remember, they took the Pittsburgh Penguins when they won the second cup, I believe, to the Stanley Cup, to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they fell off the face of the planet because that was all their guys, and that was basically their last hurrah, and they were done after that. And Carlson was last man standing, and that's why he ended up in San Jose. So I don't think he's going to make that mistake again and go to Carolina, then maybe only score 40, 50 points. I think he wants to finish his career on a high. He wants to show he's a goal scorer / playmaker, and he'll fit in perfectly in Pittsburgh. The problem is, and I know Pittsburghers, think that, they need to go get a defensive guy, somebody who's a stay-at-home defenseman. That position doesn't exist anymore. I actually thought you were going to go to his plus minus.
Because it's bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's minus 103 lifetime.
That's coming from the non-hockey guy. I knew that. I'm catching up this year. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
but I would agree with. I would agree with Jesus.
Baby hockey Jesus.
No, yeah.
Little baby Jesus.
Hockey, mini hockey Jesus.
I would agree with Steve though on this one. If you have a defenseman that can score 20 goals like he did last year, it doesn't matter really how well they defend.
No, it doesn't.
Because they're scoring on the power play.
Yeah, you're going to score 3 or 4 goals. And if you give up 1 or 2, who cares?
Okay, let's move on.
And besides, they signed Jari, and he's going to be a brick wall back there now.
Yeah. I love your confidence. Okay, last segment of the evening, something we like to call What Are We Watching? And we'd love to hear what you are watching, 412-805-7236. And this is What Are We Streaming? What are we enjoying? I'm going to give Mark the go-ahead on this one this week. Mark, you are watching
Platonic. So Apple
I don't know what that, I'm not familiar with that word. What does that mean?
Burn.
Platonic means men and women friends together, but nothing on the flippity flip.
Like I said, first of all, I'm not familiar with platonic, and I'm also not familiar with flippity flip.
But anyway,
you know what the flippity flip is.
I can make assumptions.
Well, so it's very good. You did it.
So it's on Apple. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it's 10 episodes. 10 episodes. Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, hilarious. Definitely highly recommend. It's basically about 2 people kind of in they used to be friends earlier in life, but then you get married, you have kids, you drift apart. Seth Rogen is like a brewmaster at a brewery. He kind of
sounds familiar to me.
He still kind of lives the bachelor type lifestyle. You've got Rose Byrne, she's like a stay-at-home mom, and her husband's like a big time lawyer, and she feels lost, because she doesn't work and blah blah blah. The 2 of them get together and kind of get back to their old shenanigans, of being like wild and crazy, in the after hours. But the number one reason why this has to be watched for those who participate in this program is that the last episode, I would say, has a pretty significant scene based around UFOs. And it is the classic, are there UFOs? Are there not UFOs? Did we see a UFO? Did we not see a UFO? And it is tailor-made for Chris Klein. I'm actually surprised right now he hasn't finished it.
Well,
since I told him this about a week ago.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
just going to jump right to the last episode.
Yeah. Screw the rest of it. I want to watch the UFO part.
It sounds like there's going to be a sequel to this. Am I right about that?
You know what? I'm not sure, because it did end at a pretty good spot. I like it sense to come back for a second season. But I will tell you that it was good enough that I imagine it would have the audience for a second season.
Okay. Platonic, show about aliens on Apple TV Plus.
Just half a show about it.
I know. Yeah. Steve is watching something that is finally
The Man in the High Castle.
that's been around a while.
An Amazon original. So I've been watching it a while, and I actually thought, do I want to really talk about this show? Because when I first started watching it, I was really into it. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then they like episode 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like they got so weedy into things.
They did.
And things were so like weird. Like, you can't tell if they're talking about which future they're talking about, because clearly, you know, as far as I know, I don't think the SS run the United States now.
Okay.
No, they don't.
Okay, they don't. Okay, I was just checking.
No, I mean, I have it on good authority that they try.
I mean, I haven't been west of the Mississippi in a while, so I thought maybe things have changed out there.
South of the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah, maybe. But okay, so let's assume that the real reality is that the United States won the war and Hitler didn't.
Yeah, we know that.
Right.
Yeah,
correct.
This is
You're correct on that.
This is the way you're correct.
But like,
been reading Wikipedia.
But like in the movie or in the series, it's like they're constantly flipping around. Like, well, maybe this didn't happen, or maybe that didn't happen. And at the beginning, you get confused by it. But after a while, you just are like, you embrace the confusion,
right?
And that's where I got to. And then I started watching it again, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. Now that I got that confusion out of my head, and like, is it just propaganda? You know, that sort of thing. So I'm into the second season now, and I feel like I've got a good momentum to take me to the end.
Well, you haven't gotten to. Did you watch The Man in the High Castle, Mark?
I have not watched it. No.
Okay, so you there's a pivotal moment. I cannot. I've watched it a couple years ago, but there's a pivotal moment.
Well, I made it to the point where she makes it to the guy with all the films.
Okay. You haven't reached the pivotal moment yet. There's a pivotal moment.
To me, that was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But there's more. I know there's more.
Yeah. So, well, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but you haven't hit that moment yet where the confusion and the real past and the what the hell is this?
Yes.
They kind of merge them together.
Great.
You'll hit that moment.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'll be very curious to see what your reaction to that moment is. Yeah, definitely. Okay. The Man in the High Castle. I would classify that, as far as streaming life goes, on TV now, as an oldie but goodie already.
Oldie, yeah, it is. Yeah. It's old.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I am watching something on Apple TV Plus. It is called Echo 3. And
so I would, before you get into it, Chris, I want to say thank you for not being a selfish watcher. I'm sure you remember during Off the Grid when I presented Echo 3, and
I do.
You took me up on it, and tell us how you feel.
I actually did remember you recommending it. Thankfully, I didn't remember a whole lot about what you said about it. So it isn't ruined for me. But basically on Apple TV Plus, it's about a woman who goes into the jungles in Venezuela as a scientist to collect fungus samples for study. She ends up getting kidnapped, the standard kidnapped for ransom.
Yeah, by the way, like, never a good idea to go into the jungle, Colombia, by yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
If you're looking for fungus.
You
just
actually
not a way to go.
You actually said that on Off the Grid. That was your big thing. Like, it's probably not a good idea, but
makes for a good movie.
But all the people who get kidnapped there do it.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously. That's like everybody who gets an MTO is disappointed. Obviously. So sorry, Sheetz.
BLT.
It's an opening for GetGo. So she goes into and she gets kidnapped for ransom. But what happens is her husband is a special forces guy. Her brother is a special forces guy. Her husband's family is very well connected and very wealthy on the political front. And so it turns into this, like, at first they think they've kidnapped this American scientist, blah, blah, blah. We'll get some money. but then they find, and I won't blow this for you, but then they come up with a reason that, oh, this woman must be a little bit more important because she has something with her. And then it's this kind of back and forth, like, now we're going to kind of hold on to her and figure out what she's really doing here. And she's like, I'm a scientist and my husband, and I think I'm on episode 7 of season 1. So
sounds very like The Americans. With the deception.
Well, there's something about her that I'm not going to talk about because you don't really find this out until like 2 or 3 episodes in. But there's something about her that makes you believe, or at least has me believing right now, that she may or may not be exactly what she says she is. But they don't give you any what it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Schwab, have you seen The Silo yet?
I haven't. It's
You're
good.
the only guy who hasn't seen The Silo in this room. You have to watch.
No, I did actually. I proposed it to the Amy May, but it wasn't going to be something for her, so I got to watch it on my own. I'm watching like 4 things on my own right now.
Yeah. And I started watching. I started watching the second. I'm going to start watching the second season of Foundation. And there's a new one coming out called Extrapolations, which it actually makes my insides hurt.
Extrapolations. I don't like things that get extrapolated.
I don't need to know more about that.
All right, that's about it for us.
Thank you. That was a saving grace.
We could drag this on forever and ever and ever.
We could go on for another hour, boys.
And we could just keep going and going and
on
going.
and on and on.
And
We're the Energizer Buzzy.
We would love it. If you would pay me to do this 24/7, I would not sleep. I just wouldn't. Would you?
I would be.
Yeah, I would find time to sleep. Sure.
Okay. Thank you for watching the Sports Porch podcast live on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and all over the world. And of course, we're going to drop the podcast as we always do on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And always visit us. It's all one word, folks. ThePorchIsLive.com. ThePorchIsLive.com.
ThePorchIsLive.com.
That's it. That's it. Football season is almost here.
It's almost here. 1 week away.
We are out.
Out.